Hey, welcome everybody to Friday Brand Camp. Not Band Camp, Brand Camp. It's Jane Atkinson here with Chris West. Chris, this is exciting. This is our first time doing this.
Yeah, and everyone's like, why aren't you using Zoom? Where's the link? But this is a really fun way of basically making it live on social media, really accessible. The recording still works the same. Do you want to talk a little bit about the technology we're using with StreamYard, just so people can know?
We are using StreamYard, and you guys are going to love this. Okay, so check this out. When somebody writes in, like Jen McDonough, who, by the way, is my awesome sidekick and runs the Wealthy Speakers School, shout out, then we can just throw them up on the screen like that. And that is one of my favorite things. David Newman introduced me to StreamYard, and I am digging it, you guys. I'm hoping that you'll check it out as well. We'll probably provide you a link for $10 off at some point here in the future. Chris, we're babies here, though. We're just learning to walk in StreamYard, so anything could happen, right?
Yep, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
We were on a few minutes testing it early, right?
Yeah, we have a little bit of knowledge. So why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves and just kind of give a little state of the union in terms of what's going on in our industry right now. And do you want to start with that?
Sure. So, obviously, there's two kinds of...
Tell everybody what you do, though, in case they're from my side of the camp and they don't know you very well.
Good call. So, my name's Chris West. I run Video Narrative. For the last 7 years, we've worked solely with thought leaders and professional speakers, and we build the brand, the websites, the speaker videos, and the marketing plans for our clients to significantly scale their business. But it's all about impact, right? So to really make a much broader impact in the world. And I will say that there are two kinds of people right now in this space. One, it's people who are having to change and they're reluctant to, and they're kind of frustrated by it and they're a little overwhelmed by it. Or two, there are people who are pretty excited about it. They're excited about the challenge of it. They're excited about this new opportunity. They're excited about the way that this is going to make their business stronger long term. And I really do feel like I fall in that second camp. I'm really excited about what's going on. And I don't mean that I'm excited about what's going on in the world, but I'm excited about the new challenges and what's going on and what it's causing me to do in my creative thinking and the way that our company has pivoted. And it's creating the kind of like creative juice and new ideas that I haven't had in years.
Wow.
And so I think it's better for us to all, whether we have to will ourselves into it or experience it naturally, like it's time to really embrace the change and do it quickly rather than being reluctant to.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Well, my name is Jane Atkinson. I have a company called Speaker Launcher, and we actually have a school called the Wealthy Speakers School, which is just an awesome place for people who are emerging and getting into the business to be. We actually have programs at all different levels. And one of the things that I've been kind of creating as a little bit of a mantra, Chris, for what's going on in our world right now is, how will I grow through this? Mm-hmm. So we can go through it if we want to, and we can curl up in a little ball if we want to, but how will I grow through this? So I'm working really hard, guys, and I do not have this mastered. Let me tell you, I am on a roller coaster, perhaps like many of you. And I think it's really just something that we just have to grow through. And I'm excited like you, though, to see what this really helps our industry come to. And there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I think it's just going to kind of shift and evolve. It's not business as usual, but there is business going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in terms of what's going on, obviously, for everyone, I'm sure as you guys hear this and as you guys comment in, and please do, what you're hearing and what you're probably experiencing is just constant, almost fatigue of everybody helping, offering webinar. And obviously, you and I are doing this right now. The interesting thing, though, is that I think that there's something that's being missed. We're going to talk a lot about this today, but it really is focusing on the problem. And as we move virtually, what people are tending to do is say, look at the way that I can do this for you virtually. And that is the baseline of entry going forward. It is not about what can we do for you virtually. It is really taking the next several weeks, if you haven't already, to be having deep dive calls with clients, past clients, finding out based on what they're trying to achieve in the year and their new like difficulty, struggles, changes, what are they going to do to essentially hit them, and what challenges are they facing to make sure they still hit that result. And it's amazing if you can walk them through what it will take. Of course, you're going to deliver those presentations and those kinds of consulting or training or keynotes virtually. That's beside the point, but it's all about the problem. And we need to focus on that, which is why you and I, who help speakers build their brands, are taking this time over the next 4 weeks to say, you're probably working on your brand, you're probably pivoting, so let's do it together. And as people who do this every day with speakers, I think we can provide some really simple structures that you can just fill in the blanks and actually do the work, and it'll make it a lot easier.
You know, I want to address one question that people might have about your company, Chris, because video narrative, people might think, well, he does video. But what I have come to know of you is that it's really kind of more focused on the narrative and how the narrative runs through all of your marketing. You have done some amazing website, which I think you're going to show us some examples of. And you also are really great at helping people go from the ideas way out here to way down here. You and I have probably more than 10 clients in common right now. Right. And so then I take the work that you've done and we roll that out into what's happening with you in the market and your sales process and your marketing and things like that. And when I have a client that's come from you, Chris, I always know that they're going to be very well prepared. I know that their video is going to rock, but they're probably also going to have a really clear message and a really clear narrative. And I think that's really where we're going to start today, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can dive in, and essentially week one is all about the brand story you're telling. And there's a way to do this effectively. And if you download the homework sheet, so if you're watching this recording, or whatever, you'll have the sheet. And what I would love for you to do is follow along as we go through this, and then that'll be your assignment, because you'll need to be filling it out, writing it, ready to go for next week. Next week, we're going to actually start talking about the website side of it.
I'm going to see if I can't share the sheet right in the comments here. But if you don't get it, depending on where you're watching, either on my business Facebook page or my personal stream, you will get it there. Let me just see if I can put it into the comments. I'm hoping it looks like it worked. Let me know, somebody, if you can click on that. I'm really not sure, but it is on both of my Facebook pages in the comments. You'll see both the link to sign up for reminders and recordings. Let's all pray that the recording works on this, you guys. I've never done this before. And also, oh, good. Thanks, Doug. Thanks for letting us know. Can I just ask everybody a quick question, Chris? I'd just like to know, how many webinars have you attended that have been talking about how to manage the business in a crisis like this? Could you all tell us how many people, how many webinars you might have attended in the chat box? If you haven't already got us warmed up in the chat box. So Roger's saying he's been on 3. I'm thinking about, and just know, everybody, that we are not going to be focusing entirely on that. We are actually have 4 weeks of really amazing content for you. Roger says 3, Doug says 0. Talisa says 5, Lisa says 6. So that's actually good intel for us, don't you think? Kate's been on a couple. We're getting some good numbers here, Chris. And so I just really want you all to know that we're going to be providing some very, very unique content for you here. Chris, why don't you go ahead and get started and show everybody what it is that we're going to be covering?
Yeah, so if you want to slide us into the presentation mode, Jane,
check it out, you guys. How cool is that?
Seamless.
I'm loving this platform.
So Yeah, so you know what we would love to make sure you guys have as this tool ahead of you is that in April, every one of us are pivoting. There's no way around it. So we're going to have to be redesigning certain web pages. We're going to have to be designing certain ways that we share with what we can do now virtually, and that is going to be the price of entry. You know, people are talking about, look what I can do virtually. That is just what we're all doing.
Yeah.
So that's not cool. What's cool is how you do it.
It's not unique.
Sorry, yes, unique.
Yeah.
Sorry, it is cool. Thank you. It's not unique. So we really want to focus this today on your brand story, which is really telling your client's story. And then next week, we'll take that story and we'll put it into your website. And I'm telling you, when you follow this format, and I know Penny, who's on here, has done this, and her website, as she restructured it, is a totally different story. And so, Penny, you're amazing, and you apply anything that you learn, you go right to making sure you execute. We're going to update your website, and that's just the copy in your website. You don't have to redesign everything. But then in the third week, we're going to talk about how you can develop a strong video to send out to clients. And you can do it on a webcam. You can do it on a DSLR camera. You can do it from your computer. The main thing is it's going to need to be a great script, right, that tells their story. And then finally, how are you going to market that? And that's definitely Jane's expertise. And we work with our clients all the time is really, what are you going to do to share that? What are you going to do going forward on your marketing side of things? So if you do the assignments each week, and if you use April as a rebuilding month, you're going to have a lot of basically structure to work within based on these Friday brand camps.
I love it. So Friday is the content delivered live. Monday is the recording and the homework, and you can be working on it all week. And then we'll go again on Friday. Chris, I'm so excited. Let's just dive right in.
Absolutely. So here we go. What's to come? Everybody is saying I can do this virtually. And I want to just say, awesome. It's so true. You can do this virtually, but everybody else is saying that too, right? And there's really 4 ways that I've been hearing it said. It's these ways. Speaker 1 is saying, and these are all totally okay, and this is just normal, but these are the different ways it's being said. They're telling their bureau, you know, tell all my holds I can deliver this presentation virtually, right? Speaker 2 is saying, check out our new web page showing the state-of-the-art way I deliver virtual trainings. Speaker 3 is saying, here's what's unique about our virtual presentations, how we do it. And Speaker 4 is saying, here's why our virtual trainings will be even more effective than a live presentation. Now, those are all something that either maybe some of you have already told your bureau or representation or been thinking about how you'll say it or anything. And now this is the 4 ways that I've seen it come in. And what I'll say about that is that as we can quickly notice, this is all about you and what you're delivering, right? But we're all saying the same thing a little different. And what we want to really focus in on today is to say this. And before I go into what we should say instead, I want to say that Speaker 2, this is the one that it's easy as people who are comparing ourselves to one another. It's the easiest one to be wowed by. Because there's a few speakers, and I can give a few names, but I will say that like there's a few that I know who have set up state-of-the-art studios, who've got incredible streamlined process of what they're doing. There's 4 camera setups, and it's quite astounding. And it's like, wow, this is way better than anyone else. But when you read through the copy, again, it still is, look at the way that I can do this. That is not solving your client's problem. And the truth is that if you have just a simple webcam and really great relationships focused on high outcomes, you're going to do a better job than the person who's got the state-of-the-art industry. So let's not be distracted by the virtual side as much as we should be aware that we need to have a really great professional setup. And just so you all know, I mean, this is in my home. We left our studio. We're all working from, remotely. Our entire team is now. And one of the first things that I did is I spent the weekend building that wall behind me, putting up a 50-inch monitor, because when I give presentations, I put the slides up behind me so I can stay front and center, creating a space that allows me to have a very great look, right? So I think we should be very intentional, not just having our laptop in the kitchen somewhere. We should create spaces in our house now to be able to present, but how you speak about it is what we're talking about today.
Okay. What do they want? What do we want them to say?
So instead, you really want to solve your client's problems. And I know, obviously, as you hear this, it's like, duh. But the truth is the duh, a lot of times And I could give you, honestly, 15 examples that I've seen this week. None of them did it effectively. They focused on the way that they deliver trainings that's different than other people, instead of really solving the client problem with the copy. So what you want to do instead is you want to learn the results your ideal audiences are tasked to hit this year. They didn't not have the same revenue goals. They aren't still trying to make sure that they survive this. They aren't still trying to have high performance, high engagement. But understand their greatest challenge in this new climate, and then tell their story once you've heard it with your brand.
I love that.
That's what we need to do.
And what's their new goal, really? Those are the rich client conversations. When we approach them, we're not just approaching and selling, we're approaching and we're saying, hey, are you okay? Like, how are you doing? And what's going on? What's your new goal? I think if you start with that, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah, and as everyone pivots, we're all pivoting together. So let's remind that's why we're on these conversations. But as everyone pivots, what they do is they kind of go internal and they say, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
For me, I've always said and I said this to our team early on, like, one, we don't do what we did before because that's not relevant for the next 12 to honestly 18 months. So because that's the case, there's no such thing as here's what we did before. We're going on a listening tour. And I just started contacting speaker agents, speaker bureaus, a number of people that I had a lot of relationships, some of the speakers who do the most work in the industry. And I've just been sitting listening on Zoom calls for the last 2 weeks, really understanding what is their new goals, how are they adopting new tactics, what are they doing to pivot, but especially what is the language that they are using in terms of their challenge. And we all need to be doing this for our clients, right?
I love it.
So then that's what we do first, right? So here's the steps to take. And this is the steps to take this week. So this is your part of your homework. And I want you to write this down as I speak about it. Step one is to call or email past clients. Calling is more effective because you're probably going to get them now, who you have the best relationships with. Just say, you're on my mind. I really want to check in. Can I ask you a few questions? And and they're going to give you a little bit of their time. Then ask high value questions connected to their performance metrics and greatest challenges. When I say high value, the key is that so often we ask really general questions, but the more specific we are with our questions, the more specific the answers are going to be. And high value questions are ones that are related to their greatest their highest goals, their highest achievement outcome focus, and their greatest challenges right now to hit those goals. And then step 3 is listen really carefully and write down their specific words. This is what we need to do before we redesign and pivot our brand. And I wonder, Jane, this is a perfect time to stop it. How is this resonating with people? Because this is the approach I feel like we all pivoted and we all went to, here's my services, here's the new things I'm going to do, here's the new ways I'm going to offer it.
Virtual, yeah. If all of us are calling clients, isn't that keeping them, let me just show this one. If all of us are calling clients, isn't that keeping them from pivoting like we are current?
Mary, I love that question, but the truth is that in my experience from the last 2 weeks, I helped many of my clients think through how they were pivoting. And I think that's probably the relationship that you have in the minds of the people you have the best relationships with. Yeah. This is something they're like, I got to talk this out. I got to figure this out. And especially the leaders of organizations, as we all know, it's very hard. And many of them don't know how to show the kind of vulnerability of saying, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but you're someone they can speak to about it. So.
And I think it's a little scary to pick up the phone right now. One of our mantras is pick up the phone, pick up the phone. Penny knows this. And it's a little frightening to actually, but I think you have to really think about your intention behind it. And when you start first with the people who are warmest to you, the clients that you have solid relationships with, I think when you come from that good place of intention, they'll appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Let's see what Rachel, very much. I've been gathering information from clients on their challenges, barriers to connecting through virtual settings. I'm collecting a huge amount of intel related to how I might best serve them at this time moving forward. And I like that, Rachel, because I actually think that many of you already had great topics for this time.
Exactly.
Already had content that just needed to be shifted slightly. But don't you find that when you dive into your content, like you just did, you were talking about doing it yourself this week in your own business. When you dive into your content, you are far more helpful to yourself in not kind of wallowing in all the craziness that's going on. So I love this idea of really making those calls and seeing how is everybody doing. Love the idea of a listening tour. Yeah, I love that too, Roger. Good one.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, that would be the key. And I love the way Rachel said this, everyone, just because what you said is you gathered a lot of intel. That's what we need to be doing first before we rewrite our brand or we pivot. And just like Jane said, I find that almost every client that I'm working with right now, there's nothing they need to change. There's nothing you need to change if you're listening to this about your message is more relevant than ever.
Yeah.
More relevant than ever. The question is just, how is it that you are going to share it now in language that they need to hear now, rather than here's the way my message will be delivered to you virtually now. Right? It's a big difference. It's subtle, but it's very important.
Here's a good question. But aren't many of my executive clients and association CEOs still so lost in the haze that they can't tell you yet what their outcomes are? I bet you'd be surprised, David, that people have been able to I've heard the term reimagine a few times. Have you heard that, Chris? We're going to reimagine our event and we're coming out. They've been working on it for a couple of weeks now. So I'm wondering, what do you think, Chris? Have you heard that people are starting to figure it out? And it could be that you're on the front end of things.
Yeah, I will say that the loss in the haze part for me is, I think that's the absolute best time. And David Horsager says this, that who's the global trust expert, developing trust is actually fastest in a crisis. Right? It's actually, you develop trust the fastest with clients when they're in crisis or going through change. So the fact that they're in the midst of it and that you're just asking, you have the relationship and they've experienced who you are. And especially David DeLong, he talks about knowledge transfer. There's going to be just such a need for knowledge transfer now. But the question is related to, as you have more people working remotely now, and there's some stuff that needs to be crossed. Are there ways that we can have a better knowledge transfer? And I feel that what I've been hearing from literally executives, as well as clients who are working with executives, that their clients, their employees are getting more done. I was having a conversation with the CEO this morning, literally at 6:30 my time, 9:30 Eastern, and he was saying the truth is that we're having more collaboration, more connection. We're doing more check-ins because we're all on Zoom than we did when we all came in and worked at our desks now than we've ever. And we're actually kind of excited about what's to come.
Yeah.
So I think people are excited, but they still need to know what way do we move forward.
I love that. I'm going to do a Facebook post at some point here about what the positives are, because they are coming at us right now. There's lots of them. Now we're getting lots of questions. Chris, do you want to stop and answer some questions, or do you want to continue on and we'll circle back?
Well, absolutely. Why don't we stop? I will say this is the homework and the steps to take. And what we're going to do next, just so everyone knows, is that we're going to talk about writing your brand story. But let's pause now and think through this.
All right. So let me just go to Maggie. What if your clients are in the healthcare industry? Do you believe it would be insensitive to call? So if they're battling COVID right now, I'm going to say don't call them, because they will not care about what's going on. But if they're on the periphery of it and they might be thinking about, I'm not sure what you speak about, Maggie, but it could be that you're providing an essential service to help them get through this. That's a possibility. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, what I've heard is a lot of the people who work in healthcare who are my clients, actually what the people are telling them is that we actually need more support for their family members right now. Is there something you can do or a presentation you can put together that we can invite the people who are supporting the healthcare workers right now, and how they can do a better job supporting them in this time and what they need to be motivated in? Because They're the ones who are nervous, anxious, afraid that their spouse or their partner is bringing possibly COVID into the house every day. They're the ones who are having to pick up a lot of the extra workload. And so I would say, Maggie, is there talking about the families of the healthcare workers right now and say, is there something I can do to really support and inspire the families?
Great idea. I grabbed a Kleenex because every time we talk about this, my stepdaughter is a nurse and she's on the front lines of it. And so I have to be careful not to talk about it too much or I'll lose it. Lisa's asking, for those of us just starting out, are potential clients open to calls from emerging speakers in the midst of a crisis? And I think that comes down to confidence in your ability to help them solve a problem that they might have right now. Chris?
Yeah. To Lisa, one of the things I would do, if I would go online and buy the book, The Ultimate Sales Revolution.
Oh, nice.
By Steve Lashansky, The Ultimate Sales Revolution.
I'm going to write that in the notes.
Steve, when he was starting out in his career, he wasn't a successful speaker. He hadn't worked with CEOs, but he actually was just a salesperson for a small toy company, and he got a conversation with the lead buyer for Target. And he said, can I have 7 minutes of your time? I know you're going through a lot. And it's a powerful story that he told in it. But the thing is it's all about the power of your questions. And right now, if you really do have the intention to serve and love, then it's actually a frequency. And Jane's heard me talk about this a lot, but I actually spend a lot of time in my day or in the morning or at night checking in on what were the kinds of motivations and the actual energy that I was operating in today. Right. And if you're going in, people can actually feel it. But if you're going in to truly understand and serve, and if you feel confident that you can help, I've had a number of calls this week with very high-end speakers where they're going through crisis. They just lost all their work. They're not sure exactly what they're going to do. And all of them were open to a conversation with me. And none of them felt like I was about to sell them something.
So this is what Norman's question is. What do you say about helping panic clients climb down? And I think you and I have probably just spent this entire week helping people climb down. And I think getting them focused on the value that they bring to the table. Has your value changed from 3 weeks ago to today? No, it's still there. It's still the same. I think if anything, your confidence in the situation might have gotten shaken a little bit. But when you really, really focus on what you bring to the table and how you help solve problems, I think that starts to dissipate. And honestly, you guys, I'm going through the same thing myself. I'm building myself back up every day. I listen to, when I start to feel myself spiraling, I watch, who's my client? Michael Hoffman's video that he did with his daughter that's getting like millions of views right now on YouTube because it makes me laugh and it immediately changes my state. But I think focusing on your value, don't you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, there's this saying in my background's in counseling and in graduate school. One of the sayings that we learned was conflict handled well brings intimacy. It's something I think about in my marriage all the time. If my wife and I are having like a frustrating, we both see something different or we're both frustrated, whatever, I say it in my brain, conflict handled well brings intimacy. And I will
write that one down right now. Conflict handled well. Oh, so good.
And so the thing is that when you take the time to listen and it actually brings, and there's certain speakers and there's a core of it. And some of you are this speaker who actually really enjoy conflict. Not you don't enjoy it, but you like the friction of it because it brings real connection. And you have no problem saying things that are kind of counter to what everyone else is thinking in the room, and you're like fine with it. I'll just say this is if you handle conflict well or crisis well, people literally go like this together. And so if you're in it to really listen, and I seriously spend the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes of every one of my calls right now, not speaking, just listening. And it's amazing what kind of connections we're forming all over. So I see this as such a positive thing in so many ways.
Lisa, I really think that the key to every situation that's going on, we're watching I'm in Canada, you're in the States, we're watching what's happening around the world, is leadership and communication. And that's what my economist client talks about, that the stock market rises and falls on leadership and communication. And really, it's the same for us, you guys. It's the same for us. All right. Do we want to go back into
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right.
So once you do this listening to and you really understand, now and only now is a time to write your brand story. So how do you do that? Well, essentially, when I write a brand story, and I'll give you a case study so you guys can see how it works out, but this is the way that I do. I say, as I work with, what I consistently see, what most people don't know, once they, and the results are astounding. And that's the prompts that you all have on your worksheet. As I work with, this is your chance to describe the clients you serve best. As I work with healthcare providers who are facing overwhelming stress and pressure because of the COVID-19 virus. As I work with CEOs who are pivoting and shifting their entire organization. As I work with whatever, you name them so that they say, that's me. What I consistently see, this is where you name their challenges. And it's what they told you on the phone. So if I were to say, as I work with professional speakers, what I consistently see is that everyone is moving to their digital version or their virtual presentations without truly understanding their clients' struggles and the way in which they will solve those in this new economy. But
I think if that's the only thing that everybody walks away with today, is just this shift away from ourselves and delivery and over to service and outcomes. That's so good, Chris.
Right. And then what most people don't know, this is what sets you up as the expert. And this is where you bring in your distinction. Right. But most people say, so-and-so has this many years of doing this and has developed a virtual training, a state-of-the-art virtual training to serve you or whatever. And it's got to be the other way around. It's all about the character, right, of the story. And it's all about, obviously, the challenges they're going through. And many people are aware now, and a great resource for doing any of this kind of work right now, of course, is Story Brand, which with Donald Miller, and you know, the book is always very accessible and the online ability to do it. But as I work with, what I consistently see, what most people don't know is, and this is where you actually tell them, you know, the challenge you're facing right now, here's what you don't know about it. That when you do this well, and when you blah, 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 and you can actually still hit the same outcomes, but you're going to have an entirely new, innovative system in your organization. I mean, this is where you name what you know you can bring to the table. And then you say, once they, and these are the steps they need to take, or specifically your model. And if you, here's the thing about a brain. And I say this all the time as I help people develop keynotes, because a lot of times people start into keynotes right in the middle of a story. And for the first 20 minutes of a keynote, the entire audience has no idea where they're going. They might be engaged, but they don't know where they're going. What I would say about a great story or a great leader is they point to something and they say, this is where we're going. And I've been there and I can help you get there. But here's what's going to take along the way. And they give them the steps. And as soon as the brain hears steps, they'll follow someone anywhere. Right? So once you give them the steps they're going to need to take, and then the results are astounding. You give them that vision for what they will see despite, right? And Michelle Ray and I did a wonderful interaction, and she developed her new video using this outline. And Michelle, I think your new video is amazing. And that's the truth, is that I think as long as you have this in the back of your mind, whenever I write a new script, I was helping a client who's doing 6 webinars for clients write their script. And I'm not joking. I asked him 20 minutes of questions. And we had an hour-long call, and I told him, how about I use the rest of the other 40 minutes and write the script out? I use the transcript and I use this format, and within 30 minutes later, in that 1 hour block of time, I'd already written the full script and he had it to use. And it's because I know this process so well that every time I develop anything new, I use the same format, but it's always effective. And it's not like just some sort of like trick. It's the way a brain processes information.
Beautiful.
They want to know you're speaking to them. They want to know first that you understand their problem. They want to get some insight, something they didn't know before. They want to be comforted in the steps that you're going to take them through, and they want to know where they're going to end up.
And the results that you're
right, the results, where they're going to end up. Yep.
Yeah, nice.
So you have this in your outline, and I want to give you guys an example of Cassandra Worthy, because right now Cassandra is a client of ours who her message is going to be needed more than ever. She speaks about change, right? But essentially, this is the way that as we did the conversations, it came out. So as I work with companies going through massive change or acquisitions and mergers, that lets people go, okay, if I'm going through change, acquisition, or merger, that's me.
So that's the world right now.
Yeah. What I consistently see is they are great. These companies are great at the strategy and communication when they're thinking about the change they're going through. But they don't have tools for dealing with the emotions of change.
That's so good.
Right? And so what most people don't know is your company culture is actually determined by the way your employees show up every day, their beliefs and their emotions. It's what they're saying to one another in the halls. It's what they're saying or what they're feeling is how your culture is actually determined. Now, this is, again, every one of you, I'm sure, has an idea of how you would define culture, but this is her insight, right? That your culture is determined by your employees' beliefs and emotions. That's an insight they probably didn't come into that conversation or that website knowing. Once you give your people a tool for recognizing, responding, and then harnessing the emotions that they feel during change, you get a limitless resource, which is their emotions. That never runs out. People always have a lot of emotions. Okay, and so this is a limitless resource, and the results are astounding. What you're going to get is you're going to get higher engagement as you go through the change process. You're going to get a quicker pace to the change. You're going to have more sustainable results, and you're going to have better preparedness for the next change because you've given people a tool, right? So once we went through that process, the next step is then writing the copy of your website. All right. So thanks, Rick. I'm so glad you are. And I hope it's high value for everyone because it's such a simple process. You're going to write the copy on your website. I'm going to walk through a step here, but I promise you, if you focus on just the homework for this week, listening and just writing out the script, we'll write the copy next week together, right? But here's the deal is that with Cassandra, let's take a look, right, at her before and after.
For this website to be unveiled because it is so good, you guys. I said, whoa, I wish this was a couple of months ago because it may have, Jason's was really good and he won our contest, but I really think this one is a contender. This is such a good website. Are you going to show us from it, Chris? Good.
I will. But so, I mean, this is Cassandra's current website, and it is more about, her and speaking and the media she has and her insights and inspiration. Again, and I could give you a lot of examples, but I never, of course, I'm going to call anyone out, but I've seen a lot of virtual training pages in the last 2 weeks set up quickly. It's always about the speaker and the way that they're going to develop their virtual training for you. But here's what Cassandra's Worthy's new website came in using that brand script. Okay.
Come on, you guys, look at this. Now, maybe I love it because it's my colors, but bam, this is so good. So good.
I'm so glad to hear it. And I want to just point out to everyone, obviously, we have an amazing graphic design and development team. But you don't have to make it look like this. And we didn't get, the headshots were done by an incredible photographer. The deal is this. Right now, you can see that this is about change enthusiasm. This is not about Cassandra Worthy. And most people have websites designed around themselves. And I'm telling you, you cannot design your website about yourself, and especially your virtual training side of it. You can't design your virtual training website around virtual training. Okay? Change enthusiasm. Keynotes and consulting, that do this. They ensure your organization has the mindset, the behavior, and the tools to grow through change. And then I said this from the beginning to her. I said, you told me that the character are companies going through mergers and acquisition. Do you have any testimonial of someone saying this, or could you get a past client to say it? She said, no problem. If you're going through a merger acquisition or any significant change, you'll find no one better than her. So again, the brand script, you can go back to clients and say, hey, I'm creating a new web copy for the way that I serve clients, and this is the way I worked with you. Could you say this, or could I quote you saying this? And most people will go, yeah, sure. So we asked for that because that was a part of the brand script. And then here's that process we just did. This is, the next part. Have you noticed that culture usually stands in the way of change adoption? What makes up your culture? Your people do. What determines how your people are experiencing their work every day? Their beliefs and emotions. So how do you harness emotions and create buy-in for change? Well, you have to give your organization a new model to thrive and change. Again, can you guys see, is there anything about Cassandra so far? No, right? Like, it's about her, but it's not. It's about what she delivers. And that is where Cassandra comes in. Then you share your story, right? That's where you bring in your background and specifically the way in which you do virtual and those kinds of things. But that's where you bring in your credibility, your expertise that you've been doing this for the last 20 years, right? Absolutely, Carol, thank you. And then next important thing, of course, you can have your video. You give them your model for what they can expect, right? So step one for her is, and this is about emotions, and she's convincing CEOs to bring her in to talk about emotions, right? So it's like, this is a hard sell. But if you walk through it this way, you give them steps. So first you have to recognize the change signals. Then you actually have to see change as an opportunity. And then you have to choose your better, because you're going to have two ways of thinking about it. Either, and this is how she says it, you can either get bitter or you can get better, right? And you can choose your better and choose the better every time you have this new opportunity. And for me, because I just gone through this, our entire team is literally using Cassandra Worthy's process right now. We're saying, okay, change is happening. Here's what's coming up for all of us. Then we're saying, how about we see change as an opportunity? And then what are the parts we feel bitter in? And what are the parts we feel better about? And how can we choose our better? So it gives people a step-by-step process. And then you tell them the ways in which you can do the virtual trainings. I could do a virtual training this way. We can do it with this setup. We can do it this way. This is pretty much the services part, what every other speaker's website is pretty much about right now when it's their virtual trainings. It's all about the way they'll do the virtual trainings, what's unique about it, the setup they did, how they can offer this now, how easy they are to work with the virtual trainings, how it's as effective. But as you can see, this is the fourth part, if not fifth, of her website. And then what are the results that they can expect?
Wow.
Okay, so as you guys saw, this basic process was essentially what we went through with her. Every one of these things were already written down, and now you can see that before and after, and the results are right here. And then you give them a very quick way and I really think it's a great idea, add your Calendly link and give them a way to connect with you right away.
This one we're going to steal. Sorry, Chris. But
oh my gosh, you should.
Love the look of this and how easy it looks to just go, yeah, I want to do that. So
I think everyone should. I think you should become this.
So much about this is just so very well done. And I even think that her concept right now, her formula, is one that we all can adopt. Like, it's timely too that we're showing her. You cannot go to her website, by the way, you guys, right now and see this yet. It's not.
It's right in the development stage. We're just bringing it all in live. You can see we'll send these slides after, and you can see the link. And Jane, I can copy this right now into the.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. You guys, I have sent so many people to this already. I'm just like so excited to have this go live. Are you able to do it in the comments, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. So I'll send it to you, and then you share it with everyone else.
All right, let's see, private chat. Let me grab it. I could have just brought it up on my own browser because I've looked at it about 50 times already. This is such a good website. I want to just address Rick's question. As a speaker now launching my book on reinvention, should my website landing page be my speaking or my book? Would love your feedback.
Thank you so much for the question, Rick. The truth is neither.
About them. Make it about them.
Well, it should be about reinvention. It should be about, as you walk through the next several months, here's the question you're probably asking. Boom, give them the question they're probably asking themselves the most.
Right.
And here's the challenges I hear constantly from people. Then you say, as someone who's worked with companies for years on reinvention, Rick, you blah, 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 you tell a bit about, and then here's the different ways you could do it. It should be then the book, then the speaking, and then your virtual trainings, or, book, virtual trainings. It's like first thing you want them to do is buy the book right now. And I would make it really low cost. I would put it literally at like $4.95 or $9.95 or whatever, like, so that people start doing it really quick and you get orders that you can then follow up with them each and say, do you want to schedule a book study? Right? Or do you want to, and you should use your book as your main marketing tool right now. But again, no matter what product we all have, let's all remember, we're not selling our product. We're not selling our services. We are seriously, and this is so important. I cannot overstate this. Sell the problem.
The outcomes. Features versus benefits. I think it's so easy to get caught up, when we do our mastermind. Well, you're going to get 2 calls a month and da-da-da-da-da. But it's not about the calls. It's not about the private coaching. It's about the outcome that you're going to get at the end of our year together. And that's what we need to focus on, features versus benefits.
Yeah. And that's where that value, that book, The Ultimate Sales Revolution, that for me, reading it 5 years ago, changed everything for me. Awesome. Seriously, I spend only, and on any call that I have with a client, my only interest is finding out what is it that they're truly trying to achieve in their business. And right now, based on where are they and where's that gap between where they want to go and that's it. I'm just focused on what's the gap. And if I can help them solve the gap, I'm telling you, they don't care about the price. I mean, everybody's got their price point and there's a price point they won't go over. But if they feel like, oh my gosh, this person understands my struggle right now and will help me get to that finish line. Yeah. Again, the price is not the issue ever. It's called value-based sales, and it's not a tactic. It's the best way to truly provide value so that people are only buying value, not your services.
So why don't we just open it up for questions on this subject matter? What do you think, Chris? How are we doing for time? We've got about 10, 13 minutes left. How's your content? Do you have more to share?
Yeah, so what I will say is that if we start the show again, basically, Jane, I want to just share to everyone, if you just start my slide again, we just have your assignment for next Friday. You
just have to go into it. It's already set up there.
Okay, so
hit play. Although maybe I'll just go back and then forth and see. I'm in screen share still. Did you stop?
I did, and I started again. But so let me just start it again. Let me just make sure.
Let me go back. Yeah, you're actually gone from my stream. Here we go. I got it. So
your assignment due by next Friday is to write your brand story for the new way you're serving your clients virtually. And the key, of course, is that you'll follow that workbook outline, and then we'll give you the next page in your workbook in the coming week to do the website design. But here's the deal. If I start you trying to get your website built right now, I promise you will get lost in the copy. If you just focus on your brand story, as I work with, who are the people you love to work with, what I consistently see. And there's some people, and Jason Harris is on this stream. Jason Harris works with a lot of companies, but he especially loves working with the hospitality industry. And hospitality industry is just dying right now. Yeah. But the thing is like, I would love to work with people who are their whole industry is going away in terms of for the next few months, because now is the perfect time for them to be looking at what are we going to do to get better? How are we going to serve people better through this? What are we going to come out stronger as? And, it's the time, right? So I I don't know. I would just say that you've got to write the brand story for the way your clients, their struggle, what they don't know. Once they give them the steps and the results are, and then be listening this week, calling clients and getting those actual words. And if you come in with that brand script written next week, we will do the next step, which is to design it into the copy of your website. So here's your write your story in those 5 steps. And throughout the week, if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts, make sure to check with, Jane or myself, and we're happy to answer or think through any thoughts or any of this work with you.
Hold on. I have a fun ticker for this. Look at this. I'm just loving this app. I'm loving this platform, you guys. I'm having so much fun with this. Y'all, I think that those questions just really makes this so much easier for you. Would you all agree? Will you go ahead and do these questions as your homework? And would you agree what Chris has offered here is pretty magical? This one time at brand camp.
Exactly. That's exactly what we all want to say.
Value and got inspired. I love it, Roger. Somebody was bound to say it. Chris and I already joked about this privately.
That's why we decided to do it.
What platform is it? Mary's asking. She was late to the party. StreamYard is what we are offering here and what we're using here. And I'll go ahead and I'll share a link out on the Facebook page, and it'll give you $10 off or something like that. This has brought, let me just bring this up for Roxanne. This has brought what Jane has been teaching me at the Wealthy Speaker School to a new level. Thank you. I'm working on my website now, so eager to get back to it after this. Yeah, it really drills it down into something that is so profound, and it really has you focusing on them, which I love. Let's see, succinct and to the point. Yes, magical. Thank you, Lisa.
And I will say, checking out Michelle Ray's new video or Penny Tremblay, who are both on this, her new website. The cool thing is that the difference in the story structure is just so different than where it used to be. And it used to be, like, for example, Penny just commented, her website used to be about Penny. And now if you go to her website and you see her first question, it is entirely about the company's success and their revenue, right? And that's what they're interested in.
And that's going to be a game changer, Penny. She works in the northern part of Ontario, which, she could have the excuse that they don't have any money up there. But I actually think that you're going to find the money because you have actually shown them the outcomes of your work. Really, really, really well done.
Yeah. So we wanted to leave the last few minutes for questions, conversation, thoughts. And so
any questions that we missed from earlier, that we have a really heavy thread here. So apologies. Are you a story brand guide, Chris? I don't think so. Are you?
Certified. I'm not a certified story brand guide. But we obviously, my background is in narrative therapy. I've sort of studied story and narrative almost my entire career. So when Don came out with his content on the story brand, it was kind of like the models that he shared were essentially is the core of what story is. And so I can't recommend him enough because I think the process is so important. And
Solid.
We use story brand approach in pretty much everything we do.
Okay, so here's a question from David. I work across a lot of industries where execs are going to be asking very different questions about building their future workforce. How do I focus my questions in brand when they are very different in the needs of my market?
Yeah, so Dave, when I have a situation like this, I always ask 3 to 5 questions. I say, as I work with leaders, many of them are asking, and I give a few different questions so that at least one of those is the question that one of those industries are working with. I also kind of say, what do they all have in common? What's the one question they're all asking right now? And I focus on those, or what are the few questions they're all asking right now as their challenges. And then I would, for your website, I would say Dave works to answer these questions in multiple industries, and I would actually name the different industries.
What What do you think about going deep into one or two industries?
Yeah, I mean, again, and Jane, you and I teach this all the time, but I will say this is that you just either need to be known for one thing or you need to be known to one group of people. And so, and I'm pretty sure that's a Mark LeBlanc quote. So anyone who knows Mark LeBlanc, he's
Give
been
Mark
a
props.
long time coach for me. But that was always what we were always saying is like with our client base, we either want you to be known for one thing, right? When we did Jason O'Harris's work, as you guys saw with the website that won for Jane's thing, we wanted him to be known above everything else as no fail trust. Trust you when you can't fail. And coming out of the military, where flying planes, having an entire crew relying on him, there was no option not to fail. But if you have that same kind of training in your organizations, you're going to deliver client experiences incredibly well. So no fail trust. He's going to be known for that. And then which industries are he's going to be best at. But then others, and I'm in a specific industry, you are, Jane, and we, several people on the podcast, we've all seen it, especially, it's just, I find it far more profitable.
Talk about how you could have done video for everybody and about how you will actually turn away non-speaking clients. Where was your line in the sand?
Yeah, I mean, early on, once I knew that I wanted to help the people who inspire the world, which is you, make that difference, I knew that I wanted to be the most distinct name in the speaker industry for the kind of video production and branding that I want to be known for. And as a result, I knew that we have to never take a client who's not connected in one way or another to a speaker industry. And the very next day after I made that decision, I got called by a law firm and they wanted me to do their entire law firm's videos. But it was like the universe was testing me. I mean, that's what I saw it as. I was like, I made the decision, and the next day. And so I said no. I said, I'm sorry. And I needed the money at the time. I was just starting out, right? But it was 3.5 years, and we've talked about this, Jane. It was 3.5 years before a flood came in. And after that, we really have been known in that. But I will say this is that it was the decision made way early on. And then that consistency over time that brought the results.
I love your focus. Hey, we've got Michelle May and Michelle Ray on the line. So both are people that I've worked with before. So let me just, Michelle Ray said about her video, in case you go to have a look at it, she thinks it might not be exactly right for references to engaging the workforce or retaining people. She can see how it needs to be tweaked or temporarily replaced with a personal video from her, not in front of audiences. You like that?
Yeah, but I mean, Michelle, I just will say that you took a former video, which was just a bunch of speaking clips, as most speaker videos are, and you turned it into a very strong, compelling story, and that's the power of it.
Yeah, yeah. So it's maybe not either or, it might be both. Let's go to Michelle May. I'm going to try this script for an email I'm writing about an 8-week workshop I'm offering. It seems like it would work beautifully for that. I think it's going to work for a lot of things, you guys, because it's all, you're building story into all of your marketing. You can use this concept for your Instagram feed. I mean, this works for everything.
Absolutely. And Michelle, and for anyone who's thinking about doing that, I can't agree with you more. What I would do is I would say, as I've been speaking to many of you, what I've been consistently hearing, or as I've been speaking to blank name the people you're writing to, what I've been consistently hearing is this, and it lets them go, oh, I'm not alone. Right? And it makes you the expert. And then you say, what most of us don't realize is this, right? But there is a different way, and then you give them the steps that's different than that. You give them the, here's where you've been, and I've heard that, and they're like, oh, that's me. And then it's like, what you don't realize is this. It's like, oh, that's right. And then there's a different way, and then you give them the steps, and then first attend this workshop, and then then we're going to work on this, and what you can expect are, and you give them that change of the results, and then you say, very strong call to action. Sign up for it here.
Nice. Very nice. Penny, you provide such high quality education, Jane. So grateful. You've helped me so much. I'm going to keep my Kleenex close, Penny. Thank you very much. It seems like on the days when I'm doing a little bit of a nose, I get this flood of emails of people saying, you've helped me this way, you've helped me this way. So I keep getting like pulled back into the positive. So I just want to say, Chris, thank you to these people for coming on and engaging with us today. How many of y'all are going to come back next week? I mean, come on, this was gold. Are you coming back? Or I'm really praying that the recording works out for those of you who didn't get to join us live here. I hope you're enjoying it after the fact. Let me know if you are coming back in the chat box here. Carol, thanks, Jane and Dale.
And then Jane, just to let everyone know as the group, I'm sure most people are signing off right now, but one of the things I'm working on right now, and I've been doing it and testing it with people before I share this, but I'm going to be putting up a number of videos really about how to set up your virtual space. Okay, because just so you guys know, I'm using a lav microphone because I want to be able to move around, and that will be the way I do slides and the setup for how I'm doing that, and the video camera and other things like that is something I'll be sharing as well. So be looking out for that.
I can't even keep up with the comments here. Okay, so everybody is definitely in for that. I noticed you cut out just a tiny bit when you moved around, so you'll need to be aware of that when you do it live. That's great. Thank you for letting us know, you guys. I just want to say, go out there and be what you are meant to do in the world. I mean, you guys are really the ones out there on the front line leading the change. And thank you all for doing what you do. Thank you all for being here with us. What might say you as a final thought here, Chris?
I just, and you guys all know this, I mean, it's hard to work alone. It's hard to work in isolation. A lot of times your own thoughts are your own worst enemy, and especially you're looking at other people, and then you get kind of anxious, like, oh, what is my next step? What am I supposed to do? In those moments, remember, you just turn off the news, you turn everything off, you take 5 minutes, you breathe and breathe and breathe until all you're doing is focusing on your breath. You fill yourself with gratitude, and you notice how much you have around you and the people you've served and the life that you're living. And then you just say, what's the next step I need to take today?
Yeah.
And you just those pauses. Remember in yoga, what they say is that a breath is literally a full life cycle, in and out. And when we first come into the world, we take one breath, and the last thing we'll ever do is take our last breath. And seriously, you can create those kinds of start to finish of anything you're doing by taking in, out, and then a final breath, and whatever you were just dealing with before it can be gone, and you can move into the next part. But we're all alone in our offices. We have to just take these moments to recenter, remember what we're doing, and then do the next best thing.
So good, you guys. How will I grow through this? I thank you for being here. Thank you, Chris, for providing this amazing content. And I can't wait to see you all next Friday, Wealthy Speaker.
Thanks, everyone. You're amazing.
Bye.
Bye.
Now. Thanks again.